Ladies and gentlemen, what's happening in Cleveland right now isn't just football. It's chaos, power, and betrayal colliding on live television. The Cleveland Browns are in total shock after the New Orleans Saints went all in on Shedeur Sanders with a jaw-dropping $21 million offer. This isn't gossip. This isn't rumor. Multiple insiders are confirming it. And inside the Browns locker room, it's pure meltdown mode. Coaches are panicking. Players are arguing, and ownership is scrambling to save face as the NFL world watches this train wreck unfold in real time. On one side, Shedeur Sanders, the young quarterback the Browns refuse to unleash. On the other, the Saints, ready to snatch him and give him the franchise spotlight he deserves. The internet's already calling it the biggest trade drama since Deshaun Watson, and when Stephen A. Smith slammed his desk on live TV shouting, "That kid's not waiting anymore," it sent the league into chaos. Because this isn't just about money. It's about humiliation, power, and a team falling apart under pressure. Stay locked in. What's coming next might flip the entire NFL upside down before the deadline even hits. Cleveland is officially on the edge of a football earthquake. What started as whispers inside NFL chat rooms has exploded into a full-blown storm shaking the entire league. The Browns, a franchise already walking on thin ice, just found themselves the center of one of the most shocking trade sagas in years. And at the heart of it all is Shedeur Sanders. The story broke when insiders leaked that the New Orleans Saints had gone all in, offering a massive $21 million trade package to pull Shedeur out of Cleveland's chaos. Draft picks, conditional bonuses, and player swaps. Everything was on the table. It wasn't speculation anymore. It was a move so bold, it forced the Browns to confront a truth they've been avoiding for months. Their house is falling apart from the inside. Within hours of the leak, the Browns' training facility in Berea turned into a war zone of emotions. Coaches stormed out of meetings, players exchanged heated words, and ownership locked themselves behind closed doors. According to team insiders, the moment news of the offer hit social media, group chats among players blew up. One offensive lineman reportedly texted, "If they trade Shedeur, I'm done." Another veteran replied, "Already done. They just don't know it yet." The drama wasn't just inside the building. It was everywhere. On ESPN's First Take, Stephen A. Smith didn't just react, he detonated. Slamming his desk, veins popping, he shouted, "This is what I've been saying for weeks. The Browns are wasting talent. Shedeur Sanders is sitting there ready, and they're letting him rot." Across the studio, Shannon Sharp was laughing, shaking his head and saying, "That's QB1 energy right there." You could feel the electricity in the air. The clip went viral within minutes. TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube were flooded with reactions. But the real chaos began with a single video, a moment that fans can't stop watching. During the Browns' last heartbreaking loss, cameras caught Shedeur Sanders on a sideline, watching Dillon Gabriel, Cleveland's struggling starter, throw yet another ugly interception. The look on Shedeur's face said everything. He turned to a teammate, shook his head, and said, loud enough for the mic to catch, "I could have thrown that left-handed, man." That line exploded like dynamite. Every NFL fan, every analyst, every talking head knew right then. This wasn't a random comment. It was a declaration of war. Inside the Browns organization, that moment was the breaking point. Players who'd been quietly frustrated with the coaching staff finally snapped. According to one anonymous source, several veterans confronted offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt after the game, demanding answers on why Shedeur wasn't being given a chance. The atmosphere was so tense that security had to be stationed near the locker room door during media availability. Reporters said they could hear shouting from the hallway. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Saints executives were moving like predators who smell blood in the water. Mickey Loomis, the Saints general manager, had been studying Shedeur since his Colorado days. Watch his accuracy, his poise, his leadership. Insiders say Loomis called Browns GM Andrew Berry personally the night the viral video dropped. The Saints' offer wasn't random. It was calculated, timed perfectly to exploit Cleveland's chaos. According to reports from multiple NFL insiders, the Saints' package included a second-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and conditional bonuses that could push the total value beyond $21 million depending on performance. The Browns were caught off guard. For a team that's supposed to be rebuilding, it was a deal that made both financial and football sense, and that terrified them, because accepting it would mean admitting they mishandled the most promising quarterback on their roster. Inside the Browns facility, things got ugly fast. Some coaches argued they should take the deal, that if head coach Kevin Stefanski never intended to start Shedeur, they might as well cash him before the locker room mutiny becomes irreversible. Others said trading him would be a public confession that Cleveland once again failed at developing a young quarterback. The debate reportedly got so heated that Stefanski walked out of the meeting and refused to answer further questions about his quarterback plan. Meanwhile, Jimmy Haslam, the Browns' owner, was furious. Insiders describe him as pacing the floor, demanding to know who leaked the trade details. He's reportedly caught between two impossible choices: accept the Saints' offer and risk being mocked as the team that gave up a franchise QB, or reject it and watch his locker room implode as Shedeur's frustration grows louder by the day. And speaking of frustration, Shedeur's patience is gone. According to sources close to him, the viral sideline comment wasn't arrogance. It was exhaustion. Weeks of sitting behind a quarterback who keeps throwing away games. Weeks of watching the media praise him while the coaching staff ignores it. One insider told reporters, "He's not showing off. He's showing he's done pretending." That's why this story isn't just about money or trades. It's about a locker room on the verge of collapse. Players are divided. Half think Shedeur should start immediately. Half think the team has already lost its soul. Defensive captains are privately furious that their efforts are being wasted on an offense that keeps imploding every Sunday. The word revolt has been whispered more than once. Across social media, fans are picking sides. Hashtags like #FreeShedeur and #SaveCleveland started trending within hours. Memes flooded Twitter comparing Stefanski's play calling to a blindfolded man driving a bus. One viral post read, "The Saints are about to save Shedeur from NFL purgatory." Another said, "Cleveland doesn't need a rebuild. It needs an exorcism." What's worse, league executives are watching, quietly, patiently, because if the Browns accept this deal, it won't just change their season. It could rewrite the power map of the entire NFL. Imagine the Saints, with Shedeur under center, lighting up defenses again for the first time since Drew Brees. Imagine Cleveland left behind, a team known not for its victories, but for the one decision that destroyed its future. Inside ESPN's War Room, producers have already prepared graphics comparing Shedeur's college performance metrics to Gabriel's current stats. The difference is night and day: higher completion rate, better pocket awareness, fewer turnovers. Analysts say it's not even debate anymore. One source summed it up best: Cleveland's problem isn't talent, it's ego. And that ego might cost them everything. The Saints' offer expires before the trade deadline. Cleveland has hours, maybe days, to decide whether to double down on dysfunction or give Shedeur a chance to breathe. According to whispers inside the building, Stefanski's been handed an ultimatum by ownership: start Shedeur after the bye week or face serious consequences. But even that might be too late, because if Shedeur is already emotionally checked out, no meeting, no speech, no apology can fix what's broken. Every camera in the NFL is now pointed at Cleveland. Reporters are camping outside the practice facility. Former players are weighing in. Shannon Sharp tweeted, "If I were Shedeur, I'd pack my bags today." Fans are flooding comment sections demanding answers. And through it all, Shedeur has stayed silent. No posts, no statements, no denials. Just that same calm, focused look that says more than words ever could. Behind that silence is a story nobody wants to say out loud. Shedeur doesn't just want out. He might already know he's leaving. Sources claim his agent has been quietly in touch with the Saints representatives for weeks. The deal might be closer than anyone thinks. And if that's true, then the Browns aren't just losing a quarterback. They're losing the only hope they had left to fix this broken franchise. But here's the real kicker. This isn't the end. It's only the setup. Because what happens next won't just determine Shedeur's future. It could decide whether Cleveland survives the season at all. By the time the sun rose over Cleveland the next morning, the story had already grown too big to contain. Every sports outlet from ESPN to Fox Sports was running emergency panels. Stephen A. Smith was still fired up, replaying the sideline clip in slow motion while Shannon Sharpe laughed like he'd seen the future. Cleveland had become the NFL's main attraction. Not for a win streak, not for playoff contention, but for self-destruction. The talk wasn't just about football anymore. It was about chaos, mismanagement, and the biggest quarterback mistake of the decade. Inside the Browns facility, the atmosphere felt like a funeral. Assistants avoided eye contact. PR staff begged players not to comment. But the silence only made things worse. Players were talking off the record. Reporters were hiding in parking lots. And anonymous quotes were spilling into the internet faster than the organization could control. One insider put it perfectly. It's not that the locker room's divided anymore. It's that everyone's given up pretending it isn't. Meanwhile, the Saints front office smelled blood. Their general manager, Mickey Loomis, was reportedly on the phone every hour, adjusting numbers, adding incentives, tightening the offer until it was impossible to ignore. They'd watched the Browns crumble under their own indecision. To them, this wasn't just a trade, it was a rescue mission. They weren't just buying talent, they were saving a career. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Saints' proposal included multiple high-value picks, enough to rebuild Cleveland's roster from the ground up. But what shocked everyone was the tone of the offer. It wasn't desperate, it was confident. The Saints acted like they already knew Shedeur was leaving. One source inside New Orleans even said, "We're not negotiating with Cleveland. We're just waiting for them to admit the obvious." That kind of confidence sent Cleveland spiraling. Rumors of meetings between ownership and head coach Kevin Stefanski flooded social media. Haslam, already frustrated, allegedly demanded a private conversation with Shedeur himself. Nobody knows exactly what was said in that meeting, but insiders describe it as cold, short, and final. Whatever happened in that room changed everything. Shedeur left the facility immediately after, without talking to media, without even greeting teammates. Cameras caught him walking to his car with his hoodie up, avoiding eye contact. Fans watching the footage online said it looked like a goodbye. At that exact moment, chaos was unraveling inside. Stefanski's coaching credibility was crumbling in real time. Several assistants reportedly confronted him about his loyalty to Dillon Gabriel, demanding to know why the struggling starter was still being protected while Shedeur's confidence was being destroyed. Stefanski doubled down, insisting that Gabriel's leadership stability outweighed performance numbers. But the stats didn't lie. Gabriel's passer rating had plummeted. His turnover count was climbing, and even practice sessions showed no improvement. It was like watching someone defend a sinking ship. The Browns media team tried damage control. They released statements about quarterback depth and team unity, but every word sounded rehearsed, robotic, disconnected from reality. Meanwhile, fans outside the facility were chanting Shedeur's name. It wasn't just support, it was rebellion. And then came the twist that sent shockwaves through the league. Deion Sanders, Shedeur's father, broke his silence during a short interview. He smiled slightly and said, "I just want what's best for my son. He's a leader, and leaders need the right environment to grow." It wasn't loud, it wasn't angry, but it was nuclear. The internet exploded with reactions. ESPN analysts called it a warning shot. One comment under the clip read, "Translation, get him out of Cleveland before it's too late." Suddenly, this wasn't just about a football trade. It became a family story, a legacy story. Shedeur wasn't just a backup QB anymore. He was a symbol of how the NFL can waste talent under bad leadership. Former players started chiming in. Michael Irvin tweeted, "You can't hold a diamond under mud and expect it to shine." Others agreed. Within hours, hashtags like #FreeShedeur and #Let Him Play dominated social media. Inside New Orleans, the Saints organization went into full pursuit mode. They were ready to rebrand their franchise around Shedeur. Leaked drafts of press releases began circulating. Mock headlines that read, "Saints secure future with Sanders." Marketing executives were already discussing jersey campaigns and season ticket promos built around his image. The Saints weren't hoping. They were preparing. Back in Cleveland, the fallout got darker. Several offensive players reportedly skipped voluntary workouts in protest. Team morale was at its lowest point of the season. And through it all, Dillon Gabriel continued practicing like nothing was wrong, while teammates quietly avoided him. One veteran wide receiver told a reporter, "It's not his fault he's starting, but it's his fault he's pretending not to see what's happening." Then came the media ambush. Cleveland's offensive coordinator was cornered by reporters who asked point-blank if Shedeur would ever start a game this season. He hesitated for 5 seconds too long. That hesitation was all it took. The clip went viral, with fans captioning it, "He knows it's over." At this point, even rival teams began weighing in. Anonymous sources from other organizations told NFL Network, if the Browns don't trade him, they'll lose the locker room completely. It was a kind of public humiliation that no franchise recovers from easily. As the trade deadline loomed closer, Shedeur's name dominated every broadcast. Commentators described him as the most expensive bench warmer in football history. The irony wasn't lost on fans. Every Sunday, while Gabriel struggled through another ugly first half, cameras cut to Shedeur sitting on the sideline, helmet on, head down, emotionless. The image became a meme, a symbol, a statement. And then came the Saints' final push. Reports emerged that they'd increased the total offer to include performance bonuses that could push the deal beyond $25 million if Shedeur became their full-time starter. It was an all-in gamble, an open challenge to Cleveland to stop pretending everything was fine. The NFL world collectively held its breath. But behind the headlines, something else was happening, something the public didn't see. According to league insiders, Shedeur's agent had already begun quietly coordinating potential housing in New Orleans. A private jet was on standby. Travel documents had been updated. It was as if the move was already done. Cleveland just hadn't accepted it yet. Meanwhile, the Browns' locker room was fracturing beyond repair. Several players unfollowed team accounts on social media. Some posted cryptic messages like, "Loyalty has limits." Even Shedeur's closest teammates had gone silent, afraid that any show of support could cost them their jobs. The entire building felt radioactive. Local reporters began camping outside Berea, waiting for the slightest sign of movement. Every car that drove through the gates was photographed. Every coach who walked out became a suspect. Inside the media room, whispers grew that a massive internal meeting was scheduled that night. When the meeting ended, sources said no one spoke. They just left, some angry, some broken, some quietly relieved. The next morning, ESPN broke another headline. Saints offer accepted? Sources indicate Browns in final stages of negotiations. It wasn't confirmed, but it was enough to make Twitter explode. The phrase "final stages" trended nationwide. Browns fans flooded the team's social pages with thousands of comments begging management not to let Shedeur go. Saints fans were already celebrating like they'd won the Super Bowl. But inside Cleveland, the truth was far messier. According to those present in the room, Haslam was torn. He couldn't bear the thought of another Johnny Manziel-style headline, a failed experiment, a wasted star. Yet the clock was ticking, and every delay made the organization look weaker. And through all this, Shedeur stayed quiet. No tweets, no statements, no leaks, just calm before a storm. Insiders say that silence was strategic. He didn't want to push his way out publicly. He wanted the Browns to feel the weight of their own decision. That's what made the situation unbearable. It wasn't rebellion, it was resignation. By the end of the day, Cleveland was no longer deciding whether to trade him. They were deciding how much damage control they could afford when the news broke. Every media outlet prepared breaking news graphics. Talk shows cleared their schedules. Fans held their breath. Because the next move, whatever it would be, wasn't just about Shedeur Sanders' future. It was about Cleveland's survival as a franchise. And with the trade deadline only hours away, one thing had become painfully clear. If the Browns didn't act fast, this story would destroy them long before Sunday kickoff. By the time night fell over Cleveland, the tension had become unbearable. Inside the facility, the lights stayed on long past midnight. Reporters gathered outside the gates, cameras rolling, waiting for a single statement that never came. Inside, phones were ringing nonstop. Front office executives, coaches, and agents all bracing for the decision that would define the season, maybe even end careers. Somewhere in those fluorescent-lit hallways, the Browns were deciding whether to let Shedeur Sanders go. At exactly 11:37 p.m., insiders say the conversation hit its breaking point. The Saints had sent a final proposal, sweetened with extra picks and cash incentives, a deal worth $25.6 million when fully loaded. It was a kind of offer no sane franchise could refuse. But this was Cleveland, where ego often beats logic. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, already cornered, reportedly made one last desperate plea to keep Shedeur. His argument? That trading him would make the Browns look like fools who couldn't manage their own locker room. The counter-argument from nearly everyone else in the room was brutal. That's already what we look like. As word spread that ownership was leaning toward the trade, chaos erupted again. One veteran player reportedly shouted in frustration, storming out of the team facility. Others sat silently, realizing what was about to happen. It wasn't just about losing Shedeur. It was about losing faith. That locker room, once built on quiet hope, now echoed with a sound of disbelief. By sunrise, Cleveland looked like a city under emotional lockdown. Fans were outside the stadium holding handmade signs. Let him play and don't trade the future. Meanwhile, in New Orleans, fans were already celebrating online. Memes showed Shedeur in the Saints jersey, walking to the Superdome tunnel. The internet had already decided the outcome, and Cleveland was too slow to stop it. At 8:14 a.m., a plane was spotted leaving Hopkins International Airport. It was a small private jet, no logos, no markings, reportedly chartered by Shedeur's representation. Nobody from the team confirmed it, but everyone knew what it meant. The footage hit social media like wildfire. Within an hour, hashtag Shedeur the Saints was trending in over 30 states. ESPN switched to live coverage. Reporters outside the Saints facility were screaming over one another for updates. And then, just when it seemed official, the story took another turn. The Browns hadn't signed the papers yet. Haslam had reportedly frozen the deal at the last possible moment. Insiders said he couldn't bring himself to approve the trade. He looked at Shedeur's tape again, one source claimed. He saw what he was about to give away, and he froze. That hesitation turned everything upside down. The Saints front office, blindsided, immediately leaked their side to the press, accusing Cleveland of playing games. You either want to build a team or watch it collapse, one Saints executive said anonymously. Meanwhile, Shedeur himself remained silent until that afternoon. Cameras caught him arriving back at the Browns training facility, walking straight past reporters, earbuds and no expression, when one journalist shouted, "Are you staying in Cleveland?" He gave a half smile and said, "For now." Just 2 words, but they lit the match all over again. Sports talk exploded. Shannon Sharp called it the coldest response I've heard in 20 years. Stephen A. Smith yelled live on air, "For now?" That's a death sentence for Cleveland football. Even retired players weighed in, saying Shedeur's composure under chaos proved he was ready to lead. But while fans argued, something deeper was happening inside that locker room. Players were starting to pick sides in open view. Some gathered around Shedeur during practice, while others stood near Gabriel, their faces tense and unreadable. The building no longer felt like a team. It felt like 2 armies sharing a field. That day's practice was described by witnesses as eerily quiet. No shouting, no energy, just heavy silence. Stefanski reportedly ran drills with Gabriel first, pretending nothing had changed, while Shedeur threw on a side field under the watchful eyes of multiple scouts. According to one insider, Shedeur's session was flawless. 50 throws, 0 misses. It was like he was auditioning, one coach whispered. Meanwhile, the Saints were done waiting. They pulled their offer, releasing a statement that said they were refocusing on other quarterback opportunities. But the damage had already been done. Cleveland now looked weaker than ever. A team that couldn't make decisions, couldn't lead, couldn't protect its own players. Every sports network hammered them for days. Memes labeled the Browns the NFL's Bermuda Triangle, where talent goes to disappear. And yet, just when everyone thought the story was over, Shedeur made a move no one expected. He called a press conference. No team involvement, no media pre-approval, just him Standing in front of a plain backdrop with a microphone, the room fell silent as he spoke. His voice was calm, but heavy. "I'm thankful for every opportunity," he said. "I've learned a lot here, but I can't control decisions made above me. All I can do is stay ready." He paused, looked straight into the camera, and added, "I love this game, but I need to be somewhere that wants to play me." It was surgical. No anger, no insults, just truth. The room exploded with questions, but Shedeur walked off before answering any. Within minutes, clips of the statement hit every platform imaginable. Players reposted it with emojis. Fans started spamming team accounts with messages like, "Start him or lose him." That night, a new wave of rumors began. Multiple insiders claimed that several teams, not just the Saints, had reached out to Shedeur's camp, including the Raiders, Falcons, and Patriots. Suddenly, this wasn't a one-team negotiation anymore. The entire league was circling. Cleveland had accidentally turned their backup into the hottest name in the NFL. As for Stefanski, the writing was on the wall. Haslam reportedly held a closed-door meeting with him 2 days later and demanded immediate improvement or structural changes. Translation: start winning or start packing. But even if he survived the season, his credibility was already dead. Every reporter, every fan, every player now knew that the head coach had lost his team. In the following game, chants of "We want Shedeur" echoed to the stadium before kickoff. Cameras caught Gabriel on the sideline, looking shaken. The Browns lost again. Another ugly performance, another wasted Sunday. When the game ended, Stefanski skipped his post-game press conference. The next morning, ESPN reported he'd been placed under internal review. And then, quietly, without fanfare, Shedeur's name was added to the active starter list for the next week's game. No announcement, no press release, just one quiet update on the NFL's transaction wire. But it didn't stay quiet for long. The moment fans noticed, Twitter crashed under the volume of posts. Shedeur Sanders, QB1. The following Sunday, he stepped onto the field wearing Cleveland brown and orange. The crowd went wild. Even opposing players were smiling, nodding, recognizing the weight of that moment. Every snap, every pass, every movement carried the tension of months of drama. And when Shedeur threw his first touchdown, a perfect 38-yard strike into the end zone, the stadium erupted. The cameras caught his face. Calm, focused, no celebration, no taunting, just a small nod as if to say, "Told you so." The commentators were losing their minds. "He's here," one shouted. "The kid is finally here." But beneath the cheers, the question lingered. Was this redemption for Cleveland or the beginning of the end? Because everyone knew Shedeur was still watching, still thinking, still weighing whether to stay or walk away at season's end. And as the clock ran out, one thing became painfully clear. The Browns didn't just save their season. They accidentally lit a fire they might never control again. The headlines the next morning said it best. Cleveland's hero might be their biggest regret. Because no matter how this season ends, one truth now defines the story. The Saints may have started the fire, but the Browns are the ones who poured the gasoline. So now, as the dust settles over Cleveland, one thing's certain. This isn't just another NFL headline. This is a mirror reflecting everything wrong with the way power, ego, and loyalty collide in professional football. Because when a franchise chooses pride over progress, they don't just lose games, they lose their soul. The Cleveland Browns spent months trying to silence Shedeur Sanders, and in doing so, they created the very storm they feared most. Ask yourself what happens next. Does Shedeur rise from the ashes and take back the field that tried to bury him? Or does he walk away, leaving Cleveland to drown in the chaos it built? Because right now the world's watching. The fans who chanted his name, the players who stood behind him, even the teams who waited for Cleveland to self-destruct. They all know this isn't the end. It's the start of something bigger. Maybe Shedeur's story becomes a blueprint, a reminder that talent always breaks free, no matter who tries to hold it down. Or maybe this becomes Cleveland's legacy, a cautionary tale told every season about how arrogance kills potential. Either way, what's coming next won't just change one career. It'll change the way teams treat their own players, the way fans see loyalty, and the way the NFL handles power when the spotlight turns red hot. So hit that like button right now if you're ready for what comes next, because this isn't over. Comment below, should Shedeur stay and rebuild Cleveland from the inside, or take his shot in New Orleans and never look back? Either way, stay tuned, because this story isn't ending, it's just beginning.